Hello everyone, it's GigaBeef here, and today we're going to be looking at a common question for the 7.62 NATO caliber, which is whether to use M80 or M62. For these cartridges, M80 is where it really starts to get decent simply due to the penetration of 41, and although M62 is a little better with 44 penetration instead, it does make players wonder if it is worth stepping up for only 3 more. M61 and M993 are very clearly the big boy rounds here, but M993 is some kind of gold dust find and raid only unicorn, so is very hard to acquire a meaningful enough quantity to actually use, and M61 is both incredibly expensive to craft as well as being locked behind endgame tasks from the trader. If M62 was about the same price as M80, it would be a much easier question, as most of the time you'd just use it instead, but when comparing the prices, it's clear to see why some players balk at the price of M62, given in many scenarios M80 is good enough. Once you get to Peacekeeper 3, M80 is $2.75 a round, equivalent to 300 rubles. M62 is $11.21, equivalent to 1,220 rubles, again from Peacekeeper 3, but you have to finish Spartor 6 first. M61 is the most expensive at $21.50, equivalent to 2,340 rubles from Peacekeeper 4, but for this one you have to finish Wet Job Part 6. So between M80 and M62, damage-wise they are almost the same with 80 and 79, and the pen moves from 41 to 44. This is nice to have, but the issue is this particular range on the pen spectrum doesn't really matter that much, at least at a headline level, because it's awkwardly stuck in between armor classes. Both are good enough to beat Class 4, but neither is consistent against Class 5. This doesn't happen until around 47 penetration. Against Class 4 armor, they both have over a 90% chance to go through on the first hit. M80 is 91% and M62 is 94%, but neither round one-shots to the chest, so the time to kill is practically the same at 2 hits each. Against Class 5, for example an Altin helmet, M80 only has a 13% chance to go through on shot 1 versus M62's 30%, but we're still talking about sub 50% chances here, so both scenarios feel kinda bad. However, where M62 can sort of make up for it is the armor damage percentage. This incremental increase in damage over multiple shots can add up against higher tier armor, as M80's armor damage is only 66% versus M62's 75%. We won't be going through all the details in this video of how it gets calculated, but penetration, armor damage percentage, armor class, and the destructibility of the armor all matter for this. So example, against a Gazelle, you'd expect to deal 17.8 durability damage on average with an M80 round, whereas with M62 you should see 23.2 armor damage instead. This 30% increase in armor damage, practically speaking, means that although M62 isn't an instant pen on Class 5 and 6 armors, you'll see much better performance on shots 2 through 4 that connect with your opponent's thorax than with M80. Let's take a look at a few common examples that show the differences that we're talking about. Starting with a strong Class 4 armor such as the Trooper, as you might expect, it doesn't really make a huge difference between the two. M80 will 2-shot the Trooper 85% of the time, and the remaining 15% is a 3-shot where you get unlucky. This compares with M62 with a 90% chance to 2-shot, and the remaining 10% is a 3-shot. Personally, I don't think this justifies the price of M62, but I guess that's subjective. Moving up to the budget Class 5s, and one of my favourite armors, the Gazelle that we referenced a second ago, this has the 3rd lowest effective durability in this class due to the ceramic material type. Despite this, with M80 you'll rarely get a 2-shot kill at only a 4% chance, and even a 3-shot kill is only 27%. The most likely scenario here is a 4-shot at 69%, because practically speaking you need 2 penetrating hits to kill, and shots 1 and 2 only have a 13 and 30% chance to get through the armor with M80. With M62 we can now see where some of the benefits lie on its improved armor damage, with a 20% chance to 2-shot instead, and the most likely scenario being a 3-hit with 54% chance. There's still a 1 in 4 probability that you only get the kill on shot 4, but it's now the unlucky scenario rather than the most likely. Moving on to a strong Class 5 armor such as the ACPC, the increased effective durability on this rig allows it to keep incoming rounds at a low percentage pen chance for longer. The CPC is approximately 65% more durable than the Gazelle, which translates into a small shift towards a higher number of shots required, but perhaps not as many as you might think initially. The primary effect here is to reduce the 3-shot chance dramatically from about 1 in 4 to 1 in 10, and adds 15% to the 5-shot chance instead. Interestingly, the 4-shot chance still remains the overwhelmingly likely scenario, so 70% of the time you won't feel any difference wearing an AACPC versus a Gazelle against M80. Against M62, our 2-shot chance rises quite a bit again to 14%, but the 3-shot kill ramps up from 10 to 40%, becoming very close to the 45% chance to 4-shot. The 5-shot kill that was introduced with M80 against the AACPC also disappears with M62, which should make it feel more consistent against these higher tier Class 5s. Moving up to Class 6, an armour that I've been using a bunch recently is the Tasmanian Tiger SK rig, which is the budget choice for this class and feels really good to use at Ragman 3. This behaves in a very binary way due to a combination of its low durability and ceramic material type, but with Class 6 protection, as well as the fact that armour damage is very consistent. This means that it protects you really well until it suddenly doesn't. We've looked previously at how it takes precisely 5 shots against 45 AP, no more and no less, because before shot 5 the rounds have 0 chance to pen, but suddenly the armour is very low durability and the pen chance skyrockets and the next hit kills you. We see something similar with M80, where you have a 100% chance to 4-shot it. That's it, no other chances, it takes 4 exactly. The issue here is that even if you get a penetration on shot 3, the blunt damage and the mitigation on the first shots only deals 10, 14 and 61, which is precisely 85. Those numbers were recorded in real testing and at point blank, so any practical distance away and you'll never get a 3-hit kill. With M62 on the other hand, the chance of getting a penetration on hits 2 and 3 rises to such an extent that it becomes possible to 3-shot the armour 17% of the time. The rest is again a 4-shot kill at 83%, so the difference between M80 and M62 here is actually not that big. Finally, let's check out our Slick as our strong Class 6. Because the armour class is high as well as the durability, M80 really struggles with this armour, with the most likely scenario being a 6-shot kill at 59%. There's a small 5% chance to 4-shot and a 33% chance to 5-shot, with a residual 3% chance at a 7-shot, but all these numbers are really quite high. M62's armour damage helps out significantly here due to the large number of bullet impacts overall, and the 4-shot chance is way higher than M80's at 61%, with 5 shots as a 38% chance and a final 1% in the 6-shot category. So in terms of ballistics, is M62 worth it? I think it probably is, to be honest, as we see the most benefit against all Class 5s, which is super popular right now, and against the top tier Class 6 armours too. Versus Class 4, we're already very likely to kill in 2, and the only strange scenario is the Class 6 SK rig because it has unique properties. We do get a small boost against it though. Outside of their ballistic performance against armour, there are a couple of other considerations to take into account. Over longer ranges, both are pretty aerodynamic and don't drop off that much, something that can matter when shooting at rogues on Lighthouse for example. At 200 meters, M80 retains 72 damage and 37 pen versus M62's 70 damage and 39 pen, which is still fine against Class 4. However, at 300 meters, M80 continues to slide to 67 damage and 34.5 pen versus M62's 66 damage and 37 pen. Basically, above about 250 meters, both will start to struggle, but the small amount of extra penetration will help M62 against Class 4 until a bit further out, which can prevent frustration if rogues are wearing ULAC helmets. It's worth pointing out that M62 does have an accuracy debuff, but this is not to worry about because it makes no practical difference as it's only 6%. For example, if you take an RSAS with an MOA of 1.25, using M62 moves this up to 1.33, which is definitely not make or break by any means. Also, M62 is a tracer round, which is a double-edged sword, as while it can be helpful to see where your shots are going at range, it also gives your opponents the ability to spot where you are. Those fond of sniping from secure positions are often those that refuse to take M62 for this reason. At close ranges, you do get the benefit of slightly lower recoil from the ammo, which can help slightly when on full auto with the Scar H's and MDRs of this world that have slightly higher vertical recoil than weapons in 7.62x39 for example. With all of that said, M62 is probably better for proper geared PvP runs and M80 if you're just questing with low tier kits. Also remember that you can always pop a few rounds of M62 on top of M80 mags, and on that note, if you are thinking of using M62, then I would at least give M61 a thought. Although it's hard to buy from the trader, you can craft M61 at Workbench 3, and although this is roughly 2,800 per round, takes 16 hours base time and costs even more if you take opportunity cost into account, it might well be worth loading a few into the tops of your magazines. For me, it takes just under 14 hours to make a level 22 crafting skill, but if you're going to be away from your PC, for example overnight, and want to use these in your raids, then it can be worth it. For what amounts to about 2.5 times the cost, you get a 90% chance to 2-shot a Slick, so I'll leave it up to your imagination what that does to all the other armours. I've been splitting 10 M61s and 10 M80s in my loaded mags, and 5x15 in the other two so I don't run out when I die too often, but most of the time I never get to the M80 because M61 just works. So next, go and check out my video on ricochet chance if you want some further deep dive into Tarkov mechanics. Otherwise, as usual, a big shout out to all my patrons. Hit all the buttons if you enjoyed the video, and as always, have fun in your raids.